A top 100 recruit has changed his plans for this weekend. Instead of being in Knoxville, he's going to be in Tallahassee as Mike Norvell and the Seminoles slam the door shut on the Volunteers. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in and watching. Thanks for taking just a moment. If you don't mind, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button underneath, like, share, and comment with your thoughts as well. Keldric Faulk, 4-star defensive end, current Florida State commit, had planned to go to Knoxville for the top 10 matchup between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Tennessee Volunteers. That rivalry has not meant much over the last couple of decades, but it certainly does this year. And Tennessee's riding a lot of momentum into this game as they take on the 6-0 Crimson Tide. The Volunteers, 5-0 themselves, have a top 10 recruiting class and are putting some things together really well. It would have been a major problem if a highly ranked Florida State recruit skipped out on Tallahassee and their biggest game of the year, the Clemson Tigers, which they play on Saturday night in prime time, and gone to another school's massive matchup. I got a text yesterday afternoon at about 5:30 that the Noles were actively working on killing that visit. And lo and behold, this morning the news comes out that he will not be attending that Alabama-Tennessee game. He will be in Tallahassee again for the matchup against the top 5 ranked Tigers in a pretty packed out Doak Campbell Stadium. You can imagine that Florida State coaches and staff are thrilled for Faulk to not be experiencing that huge matchup in Knoxville, but instead will be continuing to improve his relationship and the way that he sees things at Florida State. This is a massive get for the Noles if they can hold on to Faulk for so many reasons. They've developed really well at that defensive end position for year after year after year. The last couple of years, though, they've done it through the portal, and it would be huge for them to not only pick up him, but the other defensive end recruits that are in this class. The war's not done, right? There's a lot of time to go before this kid signs in late December, but what this signifies is that when an outside threat comes in, Florida State's finally in a position to be able to compete with the big boys. We've seen in the past where Florida State would recruit really well and then tail off at the end. We've seen at times Florida State have last-minute flips or just not be able to hold on to guys. The writing would be on the wall, and then eventually it would come to fruition. This is now the second time where we've seen a situation with a recruit flirting with or about to flirt with other schools, and Florida State's come in and slammed the door on that. It happened the first time with Rod Kearney, visiting UF a few times, and then it has now happened with Keldric Faulk. Faulk took some visits to Auburn over the last couple of weeks, but I don't think they're a serious contender for his signature. Tennessee, with that atmosphere and what they're putting together right now, would have been a problem for the Noles. But the Noles do what they need to do, and they give the Heisman to the Volunteers, and it's a huge win for Mike Norvell. Not to say that recruits will never visit other places and won't go to other schools while committed to FSU, but this is a huge step in the right direction. You want to have your guys that are committed to your class actually committed. It's one thing for a guy to take a visit. It's one thing for a guy to go explore his options. Nothing wrong with that. I'd love to Florida State to be in a position to go the Dabo route where guys are not allowed to take visits if they're committed. They're certainly not in a position to do that just yet. But what would be a problem is shunning your team that you're committed to's biggest game of the year, your biggest home game, against a top 5 opponent and going to another team's biggest matchup, going to see what Alabama-Tennessee had as opposed to what Florida State-Clemson has this weekend. Again, massive victory for the Noles to have one of the big boys come barking at one of their dogs and say, nope, you're not coming in here and you're not ruining this. Shout out to Coach Papapis. Shout out to Mike Norvell. Shout out to the folks behind the scenes that were able to get Faulk in less than a day. We're able to get Faulk off of his Tennessee visit onto his Florida State visit. The Noles need to perform well. They need to do a good job. I'm glad that he will see Jared Verse show out on Saturday night, see the really good play by our defensive line, and hopefully this visit puts the Noles one step closer to getting his signature in December. Again, let me know your thoughts. Is this a huge deal or is it a massive deal for the Noles? Hit the comments. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any of our content that we've got coming out. We've got a preview of the Clemson game coming on Wednesday night. Again, thank you so much for watching. Talk to you guys soon. Go Noles.